Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I have a little bit of a book haul for you all. I have about 15 books to talk about. These are all the books that I've acquired after my birthday book haul. Everything after June 19th I have here. June 19th was my birthday and today is July 20th, so it's been about a month. So I probably could have waited until the end of July just in case I got more books, but I have 15 here and I think that's enough for me to talk about in one video. So I have a little bit of a headache, so I'm just going to jump right into it. So the first books I'd like to talk about are the second and third books in the trilogy. So I have Traitor to the Throne and Hero at the Fall by Alwyn Hamilton. These are the second and third books to the Rebel of the Sands trilogy. So I read the first book about last year and I enjoyed it. It's like a desert fantasy. So the series follows a young girl named Amani Al-Hissa. So Amani is from this really small desert town in her empire and she's a gunslinger. She has really good marksmanship. However, in her empire, in her town, women don't really have much opportunities. It's either marriage, children, or nothing at all. And if I remember correctly, women are kind of traded, like bartered, a wife for some sort of like commercial good. So that's what Amani has in store for her if she stays in her town. But one day Amani meets a boy who presents to her an opportunity to be able to leave her town and make something of herself. And this series starts off as a young woman trying to find herself, trying to make something of her life in this fantasy setting, but then it kind of turns into a more like rebellious kind of saving the empire type story. So if you're interested in that, we have that here. The story also has like magical beasts and like genie and stuff like that. I also enjoy like desert styled fantasy, so I'm glad that I have, you know, one complete trilogy now to quench my thirst. So I think I'll continue on with another series. I have book 5 and 6 of the Falling Kingdom series. Book 5 is Crystal Storm and book 6 is Immortal Rain by Morgan Rhodes. I feel like I talk about this series in every video, which I'm sorry, but it is really addicting and it's really fun. I've summarized this series on my channel so many times, but it's basically a multi-perspective epic fantasy YA series. This is books 5 and 6, so I don't really know what to talk about specific to this, but it's very tropey series. There's a lot of romance, there's a lot of characters for different readers to enjoy. I really don't know what else to say about this series other than it's a lot of political intrigue, a lot of tropes. I feel like this series is kind of talked about or praised in the same way a lot of like really hyped up popular like YA fantasy series are hyped up to be. So the writing, the story aren't like super unique or like one of a kind, but people really get addicted to like the romances and the characters. So that's something that you're looking for, just like a series to like binge. I think this might be something for you if you're looking for that. So I've seen these next couple books on Bookstagram and BookTube a few times, and my secondhand bookstore had them for pretty cheap price. I think each one of these books was less than $5. So I'm not sure if these are books like 1, 2, and 3 or if I'm missing something. I haven't like really done research on this particular series other than I've seen the covers just on social media. But I have Splintered, Unhinged, and Ensnared by A.G. Howard. From what I've read, I think this is a like modern retelling or reimagining of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I believe our main character talks to like plants or something like that, and her great something grandmother was actually Alice, and Alice had dreams and she told these dreams to Lewis Carroll, who wrote the Wonderland stories, and that's pretty much all I know for the series. It sounds interesting, it sounds cool. These covers are giving me like post-Twilight vibes with like people on the cover, but other than that I don't know much about it. So I think this author has also written retellings or reimaginings of like other like fairy tales or classic stories, which I'm not sure fall into this like universe because the covers look the same for like most of the books she's written. So the last books in a series part of this haul, I have Legendary and Finale by Stephanie Garber. So these are the second and third books in the Caravel series. So I read the first book earlier this year and I didn't think that I'd enjoy it as much as I did because I heard mostly mixed reviews, but at least on Bookstagram this series is so hyped up and so well loved. From what I've seen on BookTube, not as much. However, I did enjoy the first one a lot. It gave me like Alice in Wonderland vibes. So the Caraval series is about a young woman named Scarlett, and Scarlett has always wanted to go to Caraval, which is this like overly theatrical kind of performance where the audience participates in the show. However, it's only once a year, and Scarlett has never been invited, and she's never gotten like a letter inviting her to go. However, one year when she gets older and she's kind of started to lose faith in the opportunity to go to Caraval, she finally does get a letter, and she sees this as an opportunity to escape her like pretty terrible father, as well as a marriage that he's promised her to, and a young mysterious man kind of whisks her off to go to Caraval. But almost as soon as they get there, her sister Donatella goes missing, and that's the start of the series in book 1. It was very kind of like mystical, whimsy type vibes, which I typically don't enjoy, like whimsy in fantasy, but I read the book pretty quickly and I really like to get back to the world. I do think that I might reread it or like skim read it, because I do read a lot of books within a month, and I want to say I read this, I even think I read it last year. I don't even think I read it this year. I think I read it last year, so I might reread the first book or skim read it or something. But yeah, I finally have the trilogy, and I'm so excited to read it, enjoy it, take bookstagram photos, the whole 9 yards. So there you go. So the next book I have, I believe, is the first book in a series. I'm not sure what the series is called, but it is Crown of Feathers by Nikki Palprato. I did see this book making the rounds on BookTube and Bookstagram, I want to say last year or the year before, and everyone that I trust, like opinion wise, absolutely loved this. So when I saw it at my used bookstore, I immediately picked it up. It was less than $8, so there you go. I don't know much about the series other than it is about a group of people who ride phoenixes, which sounds super cool. By looking at the flap, I also did see mentions of like a sisterhood or a sister relationship being like dissected or discussed or propped up to be a important element of the story, which I have really been enjoying lately. I've been picking up a lot of books not knowing that they have like a strong like sister relationship, either in a bad or like a good way, but just a sisterhood relationship being looked at, which I love seeing sister relationships. I've grown up mostly with brothers. I do have half sisters, but they weren't like a constant in my life, I should say. So I also picked up The Dead House by Dawn Curtigage. This is a horror YA novel, I want to say. So this book is about a fire that killed a few students, and then one student also disappeared in result of the fire. So sometime after this event, the diary of the main suspect has been discovered, and this diary that is found basically reveals a lot of what actually happened that day in the fire. What I didn't know going in to this book is that it is like a mixed media novel that has like photos and like emails and things like that, which is really interesting. I don't often read books with mixed media as like the main tool to tell the story. I've read books that have like an email printed out in the middle of it, but never like that's like the entirety of it all. I think I've only read one book where mixed media is used to tell the story, and it was Illuminae by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. I've been wanting to read Dawn Curtigage a lot. I've seen them mentioned a few times in other like booktubers like wrap-ups, and they always sound really interesting and cool. I think this is their debut novel, and the back also has a blurb from R.L. Stine. I watch a lot of horror films and TV shows, but I don't actually read that much horror novels. So yeah, we love to see it. So the last fiction book I have is The Alieness by Caleb Carr. This is a mystery thriller historical fiction novel that takes place in the 1890s in New York City. So this book is about two men who come together and they profile, psychoanalyze a killer based on his crime scenes. I want to say it's a specific person that they're trying to help capture, not just like in general. I think there's a specific crime spree taking place. One of my favorite TV shows is actually Criminal Minds. That's a series that I always like rewatch. So this is very much giving me like that type of vibes. Of course, this is also set in New York City, 1890s, turn of the century, which is a really fun point of history that I like to study a lot when I was in university. Right before the World Wars is so interesting to me. So one of the reasons why I wanted to pick up this book is because I know there's a television show. I think the second season is premiering soon or has premiered recently, and the show has a cast that I'm personally like watching. I think it's Dakota Fanning, Luke Evans, and I want to say Daniel Bruhl, who's a German actor who does a lot of American productions. So my used bookstore has a pretty decent like history, like academic history section that I like never go into, which is weird considering I have a bachelor's in history. Like I'm like a fake history fan. So I got some history books. So I picked up the Histories by Herodotus. This is the Barnes & Noble Classics edition. So I actually didn't study like ancient Greece, antiquity, really ever in my history, undergrad history. So I mostly studied like early modern European history. And the only time we talk about the Greeks is in reference to like the Renaissance. So Herodotus was a Greek historian, and he wrote down in the histories a lot of what happened in Greece during the Greek and Persian War. Alongside the Greek and Persian War, I'm sure this also has a lot of accounts of other happenings going around the Greek Empire at the time. So this is probably not something that I will like dedicate a certain amount of time to reading. It's more something that I'll probably get to in increments. I will probably approach this book in the same way like a professor might assign certain sections to their students throughout like a time period. I don't have much on ancient Greece in my personal library, so I thought, why not pick this up? It was less than $4, and I love the Barnes & Noble Classics editions. I think I have a few books in this edition. I have Dracula, I think I have World of Worlds. I want to say I also have Wuthering Heights as well. So I also picked up King Leopold's Ghost, A Story of Greed, Terror, and Heroism in Colonial Africa by Adam Hochschild. So I actually have a few reasons why I picked this up. I actually started watching the documentary in one of my history classes that was based off of this specific book, and we never finished it, which is fine for me because I would like love to read the actual source material before watching a documentary or a film on it. And also King Leopold has been in the news kind of lately because there is a statue of him, I'm assuming in Belgium because he was a Belgian king, has been like defaced or protested at, whatever you want to call it, because of his actions in the Congo. So I don't know how it came to be, but King Leopold II, I want to say, privately owned the part of Africa we know as the Congo, and under his orders anywhere from like 5 to like 15 million Africans died, which is disgusting, and I'm not surprised that so many people are protesting monuments built in his name, because I'm pretty sure King Leopold's entire like claim to fame, like the only thing he's really known for more so than anything else, is what happened in the Congo because of him. So I'm not really surprised or shocked or pressed or whatever to find out that people are protesting statues in his honor or reverence or whatever you want to call it. More power to the protesters. So obviously this has a lot of important subject matter, things that I would say most people don't know about. I also just want to read the back to kind of help summarize what this book is about, like as a whole. And the back says, a tale far richer than any novelist could invent, King Leopold's Ghost is the horrifying account of a megalomaniac of monstrous proportions. It is also the deeply moving portrait of those who defied Leopold, African rebel leaders who fought against hopeless odds, and a brave handful of missionaries, travelers, and young idealists who went to Africa for work or adventure but unexpectedly found themselves witnesses to a Holocaust and participants in the 20th century's first great human rights movement. And the last book I have in this entire haul, and it is the last book in this little history section, is Under the Black Flag, The Romance and the Reality of Life Among the Pirates by David Cordingley. I've seen this book so many times at my like used bookstore, and it's always like called out to me. And secondly, I love pirates, like in fantasy in general, and I kind of want to see like where these characters come from. And yeah, man, like pirates are so cool. I know like a bit about like actual pirate culture, so I know very little in regards to actual like people who joined a like pirate lifestyle. I only really know about like the women like Anne Bonny and stuff like that, but other than that I know nothing. But yeah, it's a historical approach to pirate life, and that sounds so cool. I'm assuming that this book is written in a way that's more like approachable or like palatable to people who don't often read like history textbooks, primary sources, and things like that. So I've actually only read like one like maritime history book, and it was about the Spanish Armada, which was about like this thick, and it was a little too dense for me. So I'm hoping this is like a bit more interesting, I guess. So there we have it. Those are all of the books I have. Please let me know if you've read any of these, if you enjoyed any of these. Let me know if these are interesting to you. I will link all my socials down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Peace out.